Billy's big dream. The Arizona sun blazed, baking the small patch of earth Billy Johnson called his training ground. Miniature cyclones of dust swirled around his ankles as he practiced footwork, a pale imitation of the Phoenix Flash he envisioned himself to be. Not just another 10-year-old baking in Phoenix, he was a future champion, his movements, though still clumsy, fueled by dreams of glory. Float, he breathed, barely audible above the desert wind. Sting. He tried to emulate the effortless grace of his idol, each bounce on the balls of his feet a silent prayer for coordination. He was a work in progress. Perspiration beaded on his brow, a salty sting he ignored as his gaze fixed on the tattered laundry bag hanging from the gnarled mesquite. This was his sparring partner, his Liston, his Frazier, every formidable opponent Ali had faced. Later, with chores and homework grudgingly dispatched, Billy was glued to the television. The screen flickered, casting ghostly shadows as he watched a marathon of vintage Ali bouts. The grainy black and white footage held him captive, each jab and weave a lesson etched in light and shadow. He devoured it all, the pre-fight boasts, the in-ring artistry, the swagger that defied gravity. During the rumble in the jungle, Billy was a coiled spring, mirroring Ali's rope-a-dope strategy with twitching muscles and bated breath. When the final flurry secured the victory, Billy roared, voice cracking with excitement. "He's untouchable, Mom!" he declared as she entered, burdened with a laundry basket. She chuckled, shaking her head. "He certainly had a presence, but remember, Billy, life encompasses more than the squared circle." He nodded, his fervor subdued. "I know, Mom. It's also how he stood tall for what he believed in, even when it cost him everything." He remembered Ali's defiant refusal of the draft, the price he paid for his convictions. His mom settled beside him, smoothing a towel. "He was a complex individual, Billy, but I understand your admiration." He faced her, eyes suddenly alight. "Mom, do you think, could I ever actually meet him?" She paused thoughtfully. "He's often on the road, speaking and making appearances. I believe I saw an advertisement for a charity gala in Los Angeles next month." Billy's pulse quickened. Los Angeles. A world away, yet tantalizingly close. Could we possibly go?" he whispered, the question barely audible. Her expression softened, recognizing the depth of his yearning. "It's a considerable drive, Billy. And expensive. I'm not sure. I'll save every cent of my allowance," he insisted. "I'll do extra chores, anything. I'll even wax the car religiously." A soft laugh escaped her lips. "Let's take it one step at a time. First, I need to see if tickets are even available." Hope surged through him. It was a long shot, a distant star, yet the mere possibility electrified him. He pictured the encounter, the handshake, the coveted autograph. He imagined pouring out his admiration, his gratitude for the inspiration. He envisioned Ali, eyes twinkling, bestowing a champion's benediction. "Keep punching, kid. You've got the grit to go the distance." That night sleep eluded him. His mind buzzed with images, Ali, the ring, the shimmering mirage of meeting his hero. He closed his eyes, summoning the imagined moment. It was a grand ambition, a distant beacon. But for Billy Johnson, a boy with a hopeful heart and sun-baked dreams, it was a battle worth every ounce of effort. The homemade hero poster. The faint aroma of sawdust and exertion still clung to Billy, a souvenir from sparring with Mr. Henderson. But his upcoming ringside pilgrimage to see Ali trumped thoughts of hooks and pivots. Less than a month remained, and Billy was on a quest. He slipped into the musty attic, where sunbeams illuminated dancing particles of dust. He sifted through forgotten relics, faded photographs nestled in albums, fractured porcelain dolls, and finally, his quarry, a roll of paper his mother used for family roasts. Jackpot. He tore off a generous length, the paper sighing like wind through dry leaves. Back in his room, Billy inventoried his meager arsenal. A crayon box, the tips worn smooth, the colors muted with use. Watercolors, mostly petrified, though glimmers of cobalt and crimson remained. And his prized possession, a contraband black marker liberated from his dad's toolbox, its ink a potent ebony. He unfurled the paper across the floor, its pristine expanse both inviting and daunting. This wasn't just a sign, it was a heartfelt tribute. He worried the marker cap with his teeth, visualizing Ali, his blurring fists, his butterfly grace, his unshakable bravado. He had to translate that. First, the name. Muhammad Ali. He scrawled in hefty, imposing letters, applying significant pressure. The ink feathered slightly, lending the characters a raw, visceral quality. Beneath that, in even grander script, he declared, "My number one hero." He stepped back, head cocked. It needed more of. Reaching for his crayons, he meticulously filled the letters, alternating between ardent scarlets and vibrant indigos, attempting to evoke the stars and stripes. Imperfect, perhaps, but genuine. Then, the adornments. Boxing gloves were imperative. He sketched a pair in opposition, their laces carefully rendered. He shaded them with sepia, adding touches of umber for dimension. Then came stars, a cosmic deluge of them. He scattered them at random, a miniature galaxy of admiration. He worked in personal touches, tiny scarlet hearts tucked into the corners, a miniature portrait of Ali, a wide grin and laser-focused eyes he'd tirelessly practiced. He even attempted Ali's signature, striving to capture the fluid loops, but it devolved into a chaotic scribble. He abandoned it. The artwork was about emotion, not flawless imitation. Hours dissolved. The sun retreated, stretching elongated shadows across his space. His digits ached, his clothing bore colorful streaks, but he remained undeterred. He was near completion. He receded, surveying his creation. It was a vibrant explosion of zeal and sentiment, a testament to his unwavering devotion. The paper bore wrinkles and minor tears, the hues lacked perfection, and the lines wavered, but it was unmistakably his. He had poured his very being into this labor. A premonitory chill danced in his stomach. What if Ali never glimpsed it? What if he stood too far away? What if some guard confiscated it? He banished the doubts. He would elevate it high, brandish it with every ounce of his strength, and somehow, someway, Ali would notice. He cautiously rolled the masterpiece, securing it with a humble rubber band. He secreted it beneath his bed, a precious secret awaiting its grand unveiling. He could hardly contain his impatience to present it to the world, to demonstrate to Ali just how much he mattered. He reclined, conjuring Ali, conjuring the battle, conjuring the instant he raised his banner for his idol to perceive. The vision pirouetted within his consciousness as he succumbed to slumber, immersed in reveries of boxing gloves, celestial bodies, and the greatest of all time. Fight day frenzy. Before the faintest blush of sunrise kissed the horizon, Billy's eyelids shot up. Fight night. The words resonated, a clarion call banishing any lingering sleep. He sat up abruptly, nearly toppling the precarious tower of boxing periodicals stacked bedside. Ali. Tonight. He was actually going to witness Muhammad Ali in action. He threw back the covers, disregarding his mother's sleepy murmur filtering from the adjacent room. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford. History beckoned. He tugged on his jeans and favorite t-shirt, the one emblazoned with a faded likeness of Ali dancing like a butterfly, feeling a jolt of excitement that electrified his skin. The aroma of his mom's robust coffee permeated the downstairs air. Already at the stove, she crooned a gospel melody as she prepared a stack of golden brown pancakes. "Well, look who's up before the birds," she chuckled, smile lines deepening around her eyes. "Eat up, son. Gotta fuel up for all that hollering you'll be doing." He wolfed down the pancakes, his taste buds registering little. His thoughts were already inside the arena, visualizing the dazzling lights, the surging crowd, and Ali's magnetic aura. He gripped the carefully rolled poster he'd spent weeks assembling, a vivid montage of magazine images and handwritten slogans celebrating Ali as his ultimate idol. The bus ride stretched into an age. Each pause, each traffic signal, seemed calibrated to test the limits of his eagerness. He jiggled his knee incessantly, his gaze fixed on the window, watching the city awaken. He imagined Ali somewhere, too, perhaps sparring with an invisible foe, or reciting verses, preparing to unveil his spectacular talent to the world. At last, the bus shuddered to a halt. The arena rose before him, colossal and imposing, a concrete behemoth humming with anticipation. Even at this early hour, a steady trickle of people flowed toward the entrance. Billy's heart hammered against his ribs. "Okay, Billy, remember what I told you." His mother's voice, tinged with worry, cut through the growing commotion. "Stick close. And try not to get swallowed by the throng." He nodded absently, already consumed by his quest. "I will, Mom! Just gotta get closer." He navigated the gathering mass of humanity, his small stature surprisingly effective at maneuvering through the press. He scanned for an opening, a chink in the wall of bodies, that would allow him passage to the ringside. The air thrummed with energy, a pungent blend of perspiration, discount cologne, and raw anticipation. He spotted it, a tight squeeze near the metal barrier, guarded by a knot of imposing men clad in leather. He drew a steadying breath and, fueled by adrenaline and single-minded resolve, pressed past them, mumbling a barely audible, "Excuse me, gentlemen," lost in the escalating roar. He'd made it. He was near. Close enough to feel the bass vibrate through his shoes. Close enough to see the ring itself, a rectangle of canvas illuminated by the intense glare of the overhead spotlights. Close enough to almost taste the electric expectation that hung like a tangible thing in the air. He unfurled his banner, hoisting it aloft like a standard of youthful devotion. He knew Ollie hadn't yet appeared, but he needed to be ready. He needed to be noticed. He wanted Ollie to know he was here, cheering him on, his faith unwavering. He stood there, a small figure lost in the multitude, his homemade poster fluttering like a flag in the wind. The arena swelled, the volume intensified, and the atmosphere crackled with an almost palpable electricity. Any minute now, any second, his champion would emerge. A glimpse of greatness. The roar of the crowd was a living thing, a beast that breathed anticipation. Billy Johnson, all elbows and knees in his too big t-shirt, felt it vibrating through the soles of his worn sneakers. He clutched his poster tighter, the cardboard edges digging into his palms. "Muhammad Ali, my #1 hero," it proclaimed in shaky, blue marker lettering. He'd stayed up late perfecting the lettering, tracing the letters from his boxing magazine. The lights blazed, turning the air thick and shimmering. The ring, a square island in the ocean of faces, looked impossibly far away. He strained his neck, jostling for a better view, a tiny ship tossed on a human wave. Then, he saw him. A ripple of excitement, a tangible shift in the crowd's energy, marked Ali's arrival. He moved with a fluid grace that defied his size, a dancer in boxing gloves. A white robe, embroidered with intricate gold designs, billowed around him as he climbed into the ring. He was more than just a boxer, he was a spectacle. The robe came off, revealing gleaming muscles. Ali began his warm-up, a mesmerizing display of speed and precision. Jabs, hooks, footwork, each movement a testament to years of relentless training. He shadowboxed with an invisible opponent, his face a mask of focused intensity. Billy's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. His hero, right there, just a few yards away. He gripped his poster, his knuckles white. He had to get Ali's attention. He took a deep breath, trying to quell the tremor in his voice. "Ali! Muhammad Ali!" he yelled, his voice swallowed by the din. He waved the poster frantically, the cardboard bending precariously. He jumped up and down, a small, determined figure in the throng. Nothing. He yelled again, louder this time, fueled by a surge of adrenaline. "Ali! Look! It's for you!" He saw a flicker of movement, a pause in the relentless rhythm of Ali's warm-up. Ali glanced towards the stands, his eyes scanning the crowd. Billy held his breath, his heart pounding in his ears like a drum solo. Then their eyes met. Just for a fleeting second, but it was enough. Ali's gaze locked onto Billy, a spark of recognition in his dark eyes. A smile, dazzling and genuine, spread across his face. And then, unbelievably, Ali started moving towards him. The crowd surged forward, a wave threatening to engulf him. Billy stumbled, nearly losing his footing, but he held onto the poster with grim determination. Ali navigated through the throng with surprising ease, his handlers struggling to keep up. He was getting closer. Billy could see the sweat glistening on his brow, the minute details of his features. The air crackled with electricity, the energy of the crowd focused on this one extraordinary moment. Ali reached the ropes, right in front of Billy. He leaned in, his voice a low rumble that somehow cut through the noise. "Hey there, champ," he said, his eyes twinkling. "That's a great poster." Billy was speechless. He could only nod, his throat tight with emotion. He held out the poster, his hand trembling. Ali took it, a pen appearing seemingly from nowhere in his other hand. He scribbled his signature across the front, the blue ink a vibrant contrast against the cardboard. He handed the poster back, his hand brushing against Billy's. "Keep dreaming big, kid," he said, his voice warm and encouraging. "And never stop fighting." Then, before Billy could even stammer out a thank you, Ali reached over the ropes and gave him a hug. A real hug. Billy felt the strength of Ali's arms around him, the warmth of his body. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy, a feeling so intense it almost brought tears to his eyes. The crowd erupted. Cheers, whistles, applause, a cacophony of sound that washed over him. He was vaguely aware of flashbulbs popping, reporters scribbling in notebooks. But all he could focus on was the feeling of Ali's arms around him, the weight of his signature on the poster, the echo of his words in his ears. Ali stepped back, his smile still radiant. He winked, then turned and resumed his warm-up, leaving Billy standing there, breathless and stunned, clutching his poster like a precious treasure. He had received a glimpse of greatness, and he knew, with absolute certainty, that his life would never be the same. The champ's choice. The roar in the spectrum was deafening, a physical force that vibrated through Billy's small frame. He clutched the signed poster, the ink still tacky against his fingers, and felt a dizzying mix of elation and disbelief. Muhammad Ali had hugged him. Hugged him. The scent of sweat and liniment clung to the poster, an aroma Billy vowed never to wash away. He was wedged against the metal barrier, the crowd pressing in, a sea of faces blurred by the sheer volume of humanity. He'd almost lost his footing when the wave surged after Ali had retreated back into the ring. A security guard, a mountain of a man with a granite jaw, gave him a curt nod, acknowledging his proximity to the action, but offering no further assistance. Back in the ring, Ali was a whirlwind of controlled movement, a blur of jabs and footwork. He danced and weaved, shadowboxing with an invisible opponent, his face a mask of concentration. The crowd chanted his name. Ali! 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 A rhythmic pulse that amplified the energy in the arena. But then, something changed. Ali slowed, his movements becoming deliberate, almost languid. He began circling the ring, his gaze sweeping across the faces in the crowd. Billy, still dazed, raised his poster higher, hoping for another glimpse, another moment of connection. And then their eyes met. Just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Ali's eyes, usually bright with mischief and playful arrogance, softened. Billy saw something else there, something genuine and touched. It was a flicker of recognition, a silent acknowledgement of the pure, unadulterated admiration radiating from the boy. Ali stopped warming up. The arena hushed slightly, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. He pointed. Not generally, not vaguely, but directly at Billy. The finger was unmistakable. A ripple of confusion spread through the crowd near Billy. People craned their necks, wondering who the heavyweight champion of the world was singling out. Billy felt a blush creep up his neck. He clutched the poster tighter, suddenly self-conscious under the intense scrutiny. "Champ, you gotta focus," a voice boomed from behind Ali. It was Drew Bundini Brown, his cornerman, his face creased with concern. "Fight night, remember? No distractions." Another handler, a sleek, impeccably dressed man with a stern expression, stepped forward. "Muhammad, we're on a schedule. The press is waiting." Ali waved them both off with a dismissive flick of his wrist. His gaze remained fixed on Billy. He took a step towards the ropes, then another. The handlers exchanged worried glances. This wasn't part of the plan. "Champ, what are you doing?" Bundini pleaded, his voice laced with urgency. Ali ignored him. He reached the ropes and leaned over, his eyes locking with Billy's once more. The roar of the crowd faded into a dull background hum. "Let me through!" Ali called out, his voice surprisingly gentle. "I need to talk to my biggest fan." The security guard, initially impassive, hesitated, then reluctantly unhooked the rope. The sleek handler moved to intervene, but Ali shot him a look that could have frozen molten steel. He knew that look. It meant business. Ali stepped through the ropes, his massive frame casting a long shadow over Billy. The crowd erupted, a cacophony of cheers, whistles, and confused murmurs. The handlers looked on, their faces etched with a mixture of frustration and resignation. He walked towards Billy, a gladiator leaving the arena, not for rest, but for something more important. Something only he understood. The champ had made his choice. A moment of magic. Billy felt a hand, surprisingly gentle, on his shoulder. He almost jumped out of his skin. He'd been so lost in the vortex of the crowd, the flashing cameras, the roar that threatened to split his eardrums, that he hadn't noticed anyone approaching. He turned, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. It was him. Muhammad Ali. Standing right there. Not 20 feet away across the ring, but inches. Close enough that Billy could smell the subtle, clean scent of soap and something else, maybe the exotic oils he'd heard about that fighters used. Ali's eyes, dark and impossibly bright, crinkled at the corners as he smiled. "Well, hello there, champ," Ali boomed, his voice somehow both thunderous and warm. "I saw your sign. Mighty impressive." Billy could only gape, his tongue suddenly thick and useless. He clutched his poster tighter, the cardboard digging into his palms. He'd spent weeks crafting it, painstakingly tracing the letters and gluing on pictures clipped from old magazines. Now, confronted with the man himself, all his carefully rehearsed greetings vanished from his mind. Ali chuckled, a low rumble that vibrated through Billy's small frame. He took the poster, his fingers brushing Billy's. A jolt, like static electricity, shot up Billy's arm. With a flourish that was pure Ali, he uncapped a thick, black marker that a man in a suit hastily provided. He leaned over the poster, his brow furrowed in concentration, and signed his name in bold, looping letters that seemed to dance across the cardboard. He added a little drawing of a boxing glove, and then, with a wink, a tiny crown above Billy's name. The crowd roared again, louder this time. The photographers surged forward, their cameras clicking and whirring like a swarm of angry insects. Billy was dimly aware of the flashes of light, the shouts of the reporters, but his focus was entirely on Ali. When he finished, Ali straightened up, handing the poster back to Billy. "There you go, champ. Now you got something special." Billy managed a choked. "Thank you, Mr. Ali." "Call me champ," Ali said, grinning. Then, he did something that Billy would remember for the rest of his life. He wrapped his arms around Billy in a hug. It wasn't a quick, perfunctory pat on the back. It was a real hug. A warm, enveloping embrace that squeezed all the air out of Billy's lungs and replaced it with something else, something like pure joy. He could feel the solid strength of Ali's muscles, the warmth of his skin, the sheer force of his presence. For a moment, the noise of the crowd faded away, the flashing cameras dimmed, and there was only Billy and Ali, connected in that single, perfect moment. The hug seemed to last an eternity, although it was probably only a few seconds. When Ali finally released him, he looked Billy in the eye, his gaze intense and sincere. "You stay strong, kid," he said, his voice low and serious. "You keep believing in yourself. And you remember, you can be anything you want to be." Then, with another wink and a final pat on the shoulder, Ali turned and walked back towards the center of the ring, leaving Billy standing there, breathless and overwhelmed, clutching his signed poster like a winning lottery ticket. The crowd exploded. Cheers, whistles, and applause washed over Billy in a tidal wave of sound. He saw his dad, beaming, trying to push his way through the throng. The reporters were clamoring for his attention, shouting questions he couldn't even begin to process. But Billy didn't hear them. He didn't see them. He was still lost in the afterglow of the hug, the warmth of Ali's words echoing in his heart. He looked down at the poster, at the bold signature, the little boxing glove, the crown above his name. He was Billy Johnson, and for one unforgettable moment, he had been touched by magic. The poster and the press. The final bell hadn't even shuddered to a halt when the first reporter materialized. Lost in the afterglow of his encounter, Billy sat mesmerized, his finger tracing the lines of Ali's autograph across the poster. Mrs. Davison, ever vigilant, intercepted the intruder at the threshold, but the news had wings. "Young man, is this true?" she queried, her voice a curious blend of skepticism and glee. "Did Muhammad Ali actually sign your poster?" Usually reserved, Billy positively glowed. "Yes, ma'am. And he gave me a hug." In moments, the humdrum classroom transformed into a chaotic press scrum. A local TV crew crammed inside, their blinding lights turning Billy into a squinting portrait. A radio journalist thrust a microphone forward, while a woman with a notepad perched precariously, her pen flying across the page. It was a dizzying rush. "Tell us everything, Billy," the on-screen personality prompted, adjusting his collar. "What was it like to stand before your idol?" Billy hugged the poster close. The cardboard felt softened with age, but Ali's signature seemed to emit a light of its own. "It was surreal," he managed, his voice trembling ever so slightly. "I was just hoping he would glance my way, waving my poster. And then, he turned directly toward me." He recounted the moment, savoring each nuance. The radiant smile that etched lines around Ali's eyes, the solid strength of his hand as he accepted the marker, the comforting weight of his arm draped across Billy's shoulders during the embrace. He even recalled the distinctive aroma of Ali's cologne, a captivating blend of exotic spices and something crisp and clean, reminiscent of sun-dried linens. "He didn't have to do that," Billy stressed, his voice gaining strength. "He could have just walked past. But he noticed me." The reporters scribbled and recorded, their faces a study in calculated objectivity and genuine fascination. The cameraman focused the lens, capturing Ali's signature in stark relief. "And what does this poster signify to you, Billy?" the radio reporter inquired, his tone gentle and encouraging. Billy gazed at his creation, a testament to youthful artistry with its construction paper and crayon, now a priceless treasure. "It signifies everything," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "It signifies that even the mightiest among us can possess kindness. It signifies that aspirations can take flight." He held the poster aloft, presenting it proudly to the assembled cameras. The flashbulbs erupted, briefly obscuring his vision, but he remained steadfast. He wanted the world to witness. He wanted everyone to understand that Muhammad Ali was more than a mere boxer. He was an extraordinary human being, capable of extending uncommon compassion. Later that evening, Billy settled onto the sofa beside his parents, watching the local news broadcast. There he was, larger than life on the screen, brandishing his poster, reliving the cherished encounter. His mom offered a reassuring squeeze, and his dad playfully tousled his hair. Even his older sister, usually impervious to anything Billy did, graced him with a rare, genuine smile. The news anchor concluded the segment, remarking, "And that was Billy Johnson, a young man who discovered that heroes can materialize in the most unexpected corners. A poignant reminder that a single act of kindness can reverberate through the world." As Billy succumbed to slumber that night, he cradled a smaller, newspaper reproduction of the now iconic poster image. A novel emotion stirred within him, eclipsing the prior nervousness and disbelief with a sense of quiet, unwavering determination. He wasn't sure of the precise path ahead, but he knew he wanted to emulate Ali. He aspired to be someone who acknowledged others, someone who extended kindness, someone who impacted the world, even if only in a subtle way. He wanted to prove himself worthy of the hug. the menace and the message. The arena's din still resonated within Billy, a ghostly echo of Ali's embrace. He gripped the poster, the autograph ink still tacky, a precious fragment of aspiration made real. The arena's aroma, a blend of exertion and medicinal balm, lingered, a potent perfume intermingling with the cheap paper stock. He felt buoyant, almost capable of drifting skyward, past the stadium lights into the inky expanse above. Then he spotted Marvin. Marvin, the mauler, Krill, a pint-sized menace radiating bad intentions, stood sentinel just beyond the exit. A storm brewed on Marvin's face, his blotchy complexion now a furious scarlet. He gnawed a thumbnail, eyes narrowed to malevolent beads. "Johnson," Marvin rumbled, resentment coating his voice. "Show me that dumb thing." Billy instinctively shielded the poster, hugging it close. "It's not dumb. Ali signed it." The words emerged, tinged with pride and a tremor of unease. Marvin scoffed. "Signed it? Sure. Probably just scrawled some garbage to shut you up." He advanced, a looming presence. A stale miasma of greasy concessions emanated from Marvin. "Hand it over." "No way," Billy retorted, a spark of defiance igniting within him. He understood Marvin's true desire, not simply the poster, but the vicarious thrill of proximity to something extraordinary, a privilege bestowed upon Billy, not him. Marvin's hand shot out, stubby fingers clawing at the poster's edge. Billy yelped, snatching it back, the fragile paper protesting with a sharp crinkle. "Keep your mitts off!" The pursuit commenced. Billy bolted, sneakers drumming a frantic rhythm against the concrete. The crowd had dissipated, leaving them isolated in the stadium's echoing underbelly. He dodged between parked vehicles, the cool metal offering a brief respite from the heat in his cheeks. An echo of Ali's radio interview surfaced. "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." He wasn't quite a bee, not yet, but he could float. He summoned the lightness of the hug, the residual energy crackling within him. He moved with the practiced grace of his basement drills, footwork honed by his grandfather. A shuffle left, a swift pivot right, evading a discarded bin and a surprised security guard. Marvin thundered in pursuit, a frustrated bellow tearing from his throat. "I'll get you, Johnson!" "That's mine!" Billy weaved through the labyrinthine parking lot, leveraging his agility. He feigned left, then veered sharply right, leaving Marvin flailing in his wake. He could hear Marvin's labored breathing, the mounting frustration evident in each ragged gasp. He spotted a haven, a slender passage between two rows of cars. He plunged into the dimness, momentarily vanishing. He heard Marvin collide with a vehicle, a stifled oath escaping his lips. Billy pressed on. He knew Marvin's tenacity. He fled, the poster a talisman clutched against his chest, a bulwark against the envy and rage nipping at his heels. He envisioned Ali's face, his benevolent smile, that powerful, affirming hug. He refused to surrender it. He wouldn't let anyone steal that moment. Sharing the heroism. The poster, still faintly redolent of chemical promise, felt stiff in Billy's grip. Lingering warmth from Ali's embrace radiated through him, a subtle undercurrent against his skin. Sleep had been a fitful guest, the moment replayed countless times, the texture of Ali's silken robe imprinted on his memory. "Are you certain, Billy?" His mother's question drifted from the front seat, her gaze flicking in the rearview mirror. Ahead, the hospital bulked against the dawn, a formidable edifice of brick. "Yes, Mom. He'd have wanted this." An unshakable certainty guided him. That hug had communicated volumes. A wealth of empathy shone through Ali's eyes. To keep this joy to himself felt fundamentally wrong. The automatic doors hissed open, releasing a wave of clinical scent that clashed with the arena's earthy atmosphere. The children's ward exploded with color, a vibrant attempt to counter the pervasive atmosphere of illness. Playthings lined the shelves, artwork adorned the walls, yet the undercurrent of sickness was undeniable. Eleanor Davis greeted them, her smile etched with genuine warmth, crinkles fanning from her eyes. Her silver hair was secured in a tight coil, and her tone soothed like a gentle balm. "Billy, isn't it? And Mrs. Johnson." We're so pleased you could come. Self-consciousness tightened Billy's chest. He extended the poster. It's for the kids. Ms. Davis accepted it with a gentle touch, her eyes widening as she took in the signature. Oh, my heavens! Muhammad Ali himself? Awe colored her expression. This is quite extraordinary. She guided them to a communal space where several children were engaged in quiet play. A young girl, her head shaved smooth, looked up, curiosity sparkling in her gaze. A boy confined to a wheelchair watched cartoons, his face etched with pallor. Ms. Davis modulated her voice. Everyone, this is Billy. He has a very special gift to share. Billy's mouth felt like sandpaper. He hadn't planned on speaking. He just knew he needed to be here. Muhammad Ali, he signed this for me. And he gave me a hug. He's always been my hero. He paused, struggling to articulate his thoughts. But I think he should be everyone's hero. Especially yours. Because you're all incredibly brave. With immense care, Ms. Davis placed the poster on the wall, bathed in a ray of nascent sunlight. The children flocked around it, their faces ignited with interest. The girl, her scalp gleaming, tentatively reached out to trace Ali's signature. Incredible! She breathed. The boy in the wheelchair killed the sound and wheeled in for a closer view. He actually hugged you? Billy nodded, a knot forming in his throat. He recounted the stadium's deafening roar, the blinding flashes, and the sheer overwhelming sensation of Ali's embrace. He described the warmth in Ali's eyes, a silent understanding that transcended spoken language. Hours melted away as he conversed with the children, answering their questions with patient detail. He shared stories of Ali's legendary fights, his unwavering convictions, and his dedication to humanitarian work. He witnessed a remarkable shift, their visages transformed, their eyes radiating newfound hope and admiration. As they prepared to leave, he observed Ms. Davis reading aloud, Ali's image looming protectively in the background. He caught the girl pointing at the poster, a faint smile gracing her lips. He knew then, with absolute clarity, that he had made the correct choice. The autograph, the embrace, it wasn't solely his to possess. It was meant to be shared, to inspire. Decades later, Billy would still recall that day, the mingling of antiseptic and the sharp tang of ink. He would summon the memory of each child's face, their unyielding courage, their indomitable spirits. He would see Ms. Davis's reassuring smile, her unwavering commitment to her young charges. He would feel Ali's hug, the empowering sensation of being truly seen, truly valued. He came to realize Ali had given him something far greater than an autograph and a hug. He had imparted a vital lesson in humility, in empathy, in the transformative power of giving. That day, encompassed by those young warriors facing trials far exceeding his, he comprehended the genuine essence of heroism. It transcended mere fame, fortune, or triumph in battle. It resided in acts of kindness, in the depths of compassion, and leveraging one's own advantages to illuminate the lives of others. It was about extending the heroism,